Of all the lenses available to photographers, 50mm are the most common today, often attached to cameras as a kit option, especially in the heyday of manual SLRs, the 1960s to late 1970s. After that, it was more common to get a cheap zoom lens as a kit lens. Rediscovering these kit lenses from 40 plus years ago is now really turning up some gems, and for not a lot of money at all. And on this channel, I've reviewed a couple from a couple of different manufacturers. But today is my first look at a Minolta lens. The Minolta MD 50mm lenses were first released in 1977. There was 3 generations of these. The first generation of MD lenses, and this MD supposedly being an abbreviation for minimum diaphragm, followed the Minolta rokkor-MC lenses. MC referring to it being meter coupled. Now, for those who find these things interesting, just a side note, rokkor is the name given to Minolta lenses specifically by the manufacturer. Rokkor is a reference to Mount Rokko that is adjacent to the city in which the Minolta factory is situated in Japan, and it was so dubbed by the founder of Minolta, Kazuo Tashima. If it was however labeled rokkor-x, it was meant for the North American market. The first iteration of the MD 50mm was manufactured from about 1977 to 1979, when some changes were made from the MC lenses. And the most obvious of these was that the filter thread size changed to 49mm from the original 55. The argument was that this was aimed at making the lens lighter but also cheaper to manufacture because you use less materials. The lenses, the MDs, were designed to work with the XD bodies, enabling their shutter priority and auto exposure features. Interestingly, on the MDs, even the aperture blades were said to be improved and balanced to enable faster stop down of the aperture for the most accurate readings using the final check metering system of Minolta. From 1979 to 1981, the second generation of MD 50mm were manufactured, and the most obvious change was they had green distance scale numbers and a black plastic aperture ring now. From 1981 to the end of production a couple of years later, the aperture lock was added for the auto exposure settings to be enabled using the new AE camera functions on the XD bodies and the various Minolta models available. The distance scale numbers will also now change to orange. During the period from the MC, or the later iterations of the MC to the third version of the MD lenses, the lens coating, that multi-coating, was improved periodically. The third generation was officially called the new MD by Minolta, but collectors referred to it as the MD3, referring to its third iteration status. It's also been suggested by some that this lens was made in collaboration with Leica, but many articles rubbish this claim as a certain urban legend and just nonsense. So in case you were thinking that it was a Leica collaboration, apparently it's not. Now let's look at some of the specs. These things cannot change. This is what it is. It's got nothing to do with my opinion on the lens. The focal length is 50mm, which gives you full frame coverage for 135 format and equivalent digital sensors. Mount is a Minolta rokkor SR mount. Both the MC and the MD ranges feature the SR mount, although some adapters you'll see today calls it an MD mount. The aperture is a 6-blade hexagonal diaphragm, and it ranges from f2 to f22 with half-stop clicked increments from f2.8 to 16 and full-stop increments from f2 to 2.8 and 16 to 22. The optics is 6 lens elements in 5 groups with multi-coated lens treatments. The lens magnification is times 0.15. The closest focusing distance is 45 centimeters or 0.45 meters. It has a focus throw of 130 degrees. Construction is metal, glass and plastic. Diameter 64 millimeters, length 36 millimeters, filter thread 49 millimeters and weight 150 grams. Price currently $30 to $50 online. I used this lens to shoot a wine tasting, sections of a music video, studio portraits of a musician, a product test shot, and general images when out and about in Cape Town. Now let's dive into my experience with this lens, and this is my subjective view. Most of the time we get totally sidetracked by a lens's performance at maximum aperture, and we neglect the range from f2 all the way down to f22 as we're stopping down. Now this lens is sharp, f2 to f22. True, in the corners, wider open, there is a bit of softness, but it is sharper than any of the 50mm vintage lenses I've tested so far. At f22, the lens peaks in sharpness, unlike other lenses that seems to hit the magic spot at around f11 or f16, which makes my heart very happy. I like a sharp lens at f22. The lens is very bright if you compare it to any of the other 50mm lenses, at the same aperture obviously. Chromatic aberrations is minimal, fringing appears only in really bright highlights, and there is minimal if any ghosting, and most of these disappear as one stops the lens down. For video, the lens is light and easy to handle. The focus throw is smooth with moderate resistance. The lens breathes when focusing. Finding sharp focus is easy and quick, and especially when using a field monitor, and probably even more so when using a follow focus. In terms of pincushion distortion, I don't pick it up, or it's completely negligible. Flare is the one place I'm not completely taken with the lens. It produces blue flare balls and a gradient haze when facing a light source, so it's nothing distinctive or even pretty. Bokeh is generally smooth and pleasing, but it's not distinctive like a Soviet Helios or any sort of swirly bokeh lens. It's just a plain good bokeh.
The lens has very good color rendition. In the studio, I noticed when shooting portraits and comparing it to my R lenses, it is slightly cooler with a little bit of cyan for the same shot. However, it is not, I wouldn't classify it as a color cask or a shift. It's very good neutral color on the colder side. Contrast is very good, but not too much, and you don't get oversaturated colors. So in my view, it's a very good balanced lens, and that also makes it very useful if you're shooting in a slightly more commercial setting.
So I use this lens in professional settings, even earlier today, and I've used it just for my personal use, and it has done what it needs to do with a bit of flair, and I really do enjoy this lens. So if you like this lens, please comment below. If you hate this lens, please comment below. Otherwise, maybe like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and I will post a couple of affiliate links below, so that if you're looking for one, you can always find it through these affiliate links, and I'll get a bit of moolah if you buy it. Till the next video, cheers.